we have three families of rocks. We have the igneous rocks. Igneous comes from melted magma. We have sedimentary rocks. Sedimentary come from pieces, little pieces of rock. And our last family, metamorphic. Metamorph, it means to change. To change. We start as one and it goes to another. Here you can see granite is igneous and it changes to that rock. Goes from spots to stripes. Granite turns into gneiss. Two main reasons why it changed. It either gets squeezed or it gets cooked like a cake. It gets baked. Sometimes both. Sometimes it gets squeezed and cooked. You can see pressure, squeezed in layers, really deep, or it gets cooked by more magma. If it gets squeezed, we usually get layers. Remember, we learned a word for layers, strata. Strata is layers, like the Grand Canyon. But layers deep underground, inside the earth, we say they are foliated. Foliated is layers. Your skin is foliated, layers of skin. And you can see that's where the stripes come from. They get squeezed and they form patterns or lines. It's like a family. We have the rock that we start with, that's the parent, like mom or dad. And then we have the metamorphic rock. We call that the daughter. Parent, daughter. So the parent rock is the first rock. It's either going to be igneous or sedimentary. Granite is igneous. It gets squeezed and makes the daughter gneiss. Here's another one that has layers. Shale is sedimentary. It forms in the deep ocean, has oil in it. But when it gets squeezed, and we call it slate, and slate is very smooth and very impermeable because it's been squeezed so tight. And we can use it on roofs. We can have shingles that are made of slate. And then slate, which forms deep under a mountain, if it gets pushed even farther down, it forms a rock called phyllite. And if that rock gets pushed even further, it forms a rock called schist. And if that gets pushed down, it can form gneiss. So all of these rocks form one, then another, another, and the deeper they go, the more squeezing you get. Here's phyllite. And what it does is it crinkles the rock. But if I take some towels and I push on them, they crinkle up, right? They get wavy. And that's what happens to the rock. It gets wavy, but it's very expensive. Lots of money. If you want phyllite on your roof, you're gonna have to pay a lot of money for that. And if it gets cooked instead of squeezed, then we say it is non-foliated, no layers. So one of those is called marble. Marble is used in art to make sculptures. It's used in tiles for bathrooms, fireplace. Marble, very expensive. Reacts with acid, just like limestone and calcite. So if we have acid rain, it eats away at the rock. Another one that gets cooked is sandstone. When it gets cooked, it turns kind of more of a reddish color or even purple. It forms something called quartzite. Remember that sand is quartz. Sand, stone, forms quartzite. Quartzite's used in our floors. It's very strong. Quartz, remember, is the hardest common mineral. It's a 7. So the floors don't get scratched. They're strong and they last a long time. Quartzite. We also use quartzite to make glass. And we've talked about coal. If we have coal from a mine, but it's very deep in the ground, see how this one is much shinier? It's got more carbon and less sulfur. This one has more sulfur and not as much carbon. So this is metamorphic, cooked carbon. It's called anthracite. And guess what happens if we squeeze this even more? We squeeze it and heat it. Guess what we get? We get all carbon, 100% carbon, and it forms a crystal, and we call it a diamond.